Oh, thank you. Thanks for spotting that. I'm going to go ahead and call this order. Meeting is the regular meeting of the Board of Education, and I would like to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. These chairs. I was going to say, take the wrong side. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's on our toes, supposed to go to the right side. Good evening, everybody. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved. Meg Scotta.
Thanks, Meg. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Kim. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. That's unanimously. The next item is approval of our consent agenda, which includes the approval of our February 4th, 2025 Board of Education regular meeting minutes, as well as approval of an out-of-state field trip request for DECA at Portland High School to Orlando, Florida from April 26th to the 30th. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Kim. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Stacy. Is there any discussion on these two items? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Audience of citizens. Have anyone with us in person who wishes to address the board at this time? Do we have anyone online who'd like to address the board at this time? Okay. We'll give it a few seconds. And as always, there's a second opportunity for public comment towards the end of our agenda. All right, we'll keep it moving. Next up is our Portland Public Schools Spotlight, which I believe Julie McGovern is going to introduce us. Or Sarah, did you want to introduce Julie first?
That was our plan.
Yes, please. Sorry about step on your toes there.
Pick this up. Hi, everybody. Good evening. I'm delighted to present Mrs. Julie McGovern and some of her students. Julie, as you know, is our multilingual learner teacher. She works across all 5 schools in our district, and we have some fantastic students who are going to speak about being bilingual in some of the awesome programming that we have on. So without further ado, Julie McGovern.
Hi, everyone. All right. Well,
Oh, good. You got that adjusted.
yes. All right. Well, first of all, I want to thank the board for having me here and to the students and parents that came. I will be just presenting a little bit about the Multilingual Learner Program. And so you can do the next slide. Okay. So I'm going to start with some of the district demographics. And then I will do an overview of what we do in the program. And then at the end, which will be the best part, will be the students have each prepared something to share about being bilingual. Next. Okay, so just some basic demographics about the town of Portland. Right now, we have 48 multilingual learners in the district. And between those 48 students, there's actually 10 languages beside English, the most common being Spanish and then Portuguese. The numbers have increased, as you can see, in the past 10 years from 13 10 years ago, and then actually 15 years ago, there was 5. So we've seen a huge increase in town, and that trend has happened nationally and statewide. So, next. Okay, and these are just this year's snapshot of by school. You can see there's 3 at Valley View, 10 at Gildersleeve, 9 at Brownstone, 12 at the middle school, and 14 at the high school. And the monitor students means students that have exited the program that are still being monitored, meaning we're just sort of like checking on them. It's transitional support. And per the state recommendations, we monitor students for 4 years after they've exited, just to ensure that they're transitioning to general education. Okay, so just a quick background on how we identify someone as a multilingual learner. This is all in compliance with the state. When students register, they fill out a home language survey. If any language other than English comes up on the survey, we do a language proficiency screener, and that's before October 1. And then after October 1st, we have 2 weeks from when they start. I notify parents when we have a home language survey with a language other than English, and if they qualify for the program, and then they receive an information about what the services they'll be receiving. And then we assess annually with an English proficiency assessment called Laws Links, which I think the students are glad we've just finished this year's round. So we've gotten that done this year. And then we decide for next year based on those scores. And this is just kind of what a Laws Links score report looks like. This is state mandated. It's administered in January and February, and the results are shared with parents. They're shared with all the teachers, and I also bring them to intervention and PPT meetings. And they're given a score of 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. As 1 is beginner, 2 is early intermediate, 3 is intermediate, 4 is proficient, and 5 is above proficient. And in order to have an exiting score, they need 4s in proficient or 4s in reading, writing, and overall. So this student did not exit because they had a 3 in reading. Okay, here are just some common misconceptions about ML instruction or MLs. One is that English only is the best practice. Research shows that actually using their home language or their L1 is actually the best way to really improve those English skills. Some examples might be providing a text in their native language for maybe someone that's older that had some schooling in their native language. Also, it's common to partner kids with others who speak the same language so they can work through their ideas together. And also just connecting to cognates and root words. You know, there are some Spanish words that maybe have roots inside of English words. So we connect to those meanings to help build their understanding. Another misconception is that, you know, language acquisition is quick. It takes 5 to 7 years to actually become proficient in a language. So that's a really long time when you think about a kindergartner who started. It's common to be in the program until 5th or 6th or 7th grade. Another misconception is that they have similar needs, and just like monolingual students, multilingual students will all have various needs. They have different personalities, they have different language backgrounds, different interests, different language levels in both their first language and their second language. So we teach to all those different needs. Another misconception is that the struggle might indicate a learning disability. Some students have learning disabilities that are multilingual, but some do not. So we kind of teach to their individual level, and same thing with interventions. ML instruction is not an intervention, it's language instruction. And then the last one is that a misconception is that all the ML students are immigrants. We actually do not collect immigration background. That's private student information, so we don't really collect that. However, you know, I do honor and respect when students share about countries they come from. That's an important part of them. So I take that into account. Next. Okay, this is basically components of ML instruction. There's 4 language domains: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Every student has a language learning plan. It has language goals aligned with the CELP standards, and that's the Connecticut English Language Proficiency Standards. Those are all the standards that the state has put together to kind of help students move to the proficiency levels needed. Also in these plans are suggested classroom supports, testing accommodations, their ML schedule, and their Laws Link scores. And then ML instruction looks different based on the student needs. So sometimes it's pull out, sometimes it's push in, sometimes it's check-ins, really depends on the student. These are just some supports that are suggested for multilingual students: pre-teaching vocabulary, visual supports such as showing a diagram of a volcano for a volcano lesson. Realia is another example of a support, and that would be something like like a rock unit on types of rocks and bringing in those physical types of rocks so they can interact with it. Other supports are wait time, slowed simplified speech, sentence frames, modeling the writing expectations, creating lots of different opportunities for collaboration, multiple modes of expression, such as maybe drawing a picture or drawing a diagram of something, reading check-ins, targeted vocabulary practice, connecting to cognates in the home language, and including the aspects of students' culture in instruction. So maybe including stories that take place where the students come from or having characters that identify with the students. Okay. Some assessment accommodations, ML students do qualify for assessment accommodations, and that's decided by each kid individually. Something like, for example, in high school and SATs or AP tests, they might qualify for extended time or bilingual dictionaries. That is a typo. I just noticed. AP tests cannot have bilingual dictionaries. So I'm just going to clarify that. On Smarter Balanced, students can have text to speech, which means the test is read aloud to them. Native language support, which might be a glossary that connects to their home language, or the math actually can toggle back and forth between Spanish and English, and then separate setting. There's an alternative assessment for LAS for students with more intensive special needs. And if students do get accommodations, we do communicate this to families. And again, it's not like they get all of this, it's decided individually. Okay, and the way I, the multilingual learner teacher, I support other teachers by connecting to professional development. I'm a member of a state organization called CAPEL that keeps me updated with the state updates. I also can act as a consultant on intervention teams or on special ed teams as a resource for strategies. I send out a monthly staff newsletter, and I also have a Google Classroom where I share all of the ML updates for the district. Okay, and we also parent and family engagement's really important as well. We know that having parents involved is a huge factor of success in kids. So last year, the ML Bill of Rights was passed, and that's available in many languages for parents to access, and basically identifies what rights parents have. We send communications home in their preferred language, and that's important so parents can really understand the messages that are being sent. And Parent Square actually translates, which is huge. The ML teacher attends meetings like parent conferences or case meetings, SRBIs or PPTs. And I'm available anytime to meet with parents. And then the last piece at the end is important. If the parents want a interpreter or translator, those two terms are kind of used together. If they're slightly different. Those services, we make sure we have them available. Okay. Now the fun part. So one example of a mini unit or mini project I might work on with students would be kind of taking one topic and having a few lessons about it. And this particular topic was bilingual is my superpower. So we really used all 4 domains of language, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, to talk about the benefits of being bilingual. We watched a TED Talk. We discussed what being bilingual means. We read an article. And then they actually wrote a paragraph and a presentation. And by doing that, it not only did it help synthesize our ideas, but we kept using vocabulary in different modes. Words like multitask, improve, bilingual. Using those over and over again helps to really master the meaning of those words. Before I give it over to the kids, just some benefits of being bilingual is improved brain power, increased memory, greater multitasking, empathy towards other traditions and cultures, communicating with more people, and decision-making skills. So I'm going to call up students. They have prepared their statements about what they're going to say about what it means to be bilingual. So first we have Dominic, you ready? Okay. Over here. Want me to introduce you? Okay. What's your name?
Nick.
What grade are you in?
6.
And what languages do you speak?
Spanish and English.
Yeah.
Here. Show that. Okay. Being bilingual is my superpower. First of all, because I make my mother proud. She says when she listens to me talk English, she forgets all the hard things that we passed. And I think that with talking both languages, I'm a good help to my Hispanic community. And it also makes me happy when I talk two languages. I think I have beautiful people, friends, teachers, and now I love them as family. And since I'm bilingual, I think I could get a good job, good grades, and help others in different ways.
Good job, Dominic. All right, Fabian. All right. What's your name?
Fabian,
What grade are you in?
grade.
And what languages do you speak?
English and Spanish. I think that being bilingual is my superpower because it helps with multitasking. It also helps, I can help other people with translating Spanish and English, and I can teach other people languages.
Okay, next is Josma. And there's actually another slide for. Okay, that was a beautiful poster and that student's not here right now, so unfortunately, but they could choose how they presented, whether they wanted to write a paragraph or do a slideshow or make a poster. So she included her country of Puerto Rico, which I thought was really nice. Oh, next. Yeah, you can stand with me. Okay, so this is, Josma asked me to read hers for her, which is totally fine. This is Josma. She's a 7th grader and she speaks English and Spanish. And hers is called Being Bilingual. Helping you in life. Being bilingual can help you in many ways. You can translate for a court case, or even if you are at a restaurant that speaks in a different language than you. Memory. Being bilingual can help you by helping your memory because you can memorize different languages. You can memorize more and more languages later on. Being bilingual can make you smarter by boosting your brain power. Economy? I feel like that didn't. Okay. The economy. Being bilingual can help you with better job opportunities in public and private sectors. Good job, Joseph. All right. Ready? All right. What's your name?
Emmeline,
And what grade are you in?
5th,
And what languages do you speak?
Spanish and English.
Okay. And here, I'll let you take it over.
I like being bilingual because I get to know a different language that's not English. When I want to speak in English, for example, I can just speak in English automatically. Being bilingual helps me understand others who don't speak English and what they need or what they need help with learning. It helps me understand my friends and family. It also helps me understand my culture.
Okay, that student couldn't make it either, but he made a beautiful slideshow, so we can click through that one. Click again. One more time. Okay, next up. Ready? You want to go there? All right, what's your name?
Monica,
What grade are you in?
3rd,
And what languages do you speak?
English and Spanish.
Okay, and tell me about why is bilingual a superpower?
Bilingual is a superpower because you can help translate with other people. And it can help you talk to family and friends. And you can get smarter by multitasking too.
Good job. All right, next. Okay. What's your name?
Crystal,
What grade are you in?
4th,
And what languages do you speak?
English and Spanish.
All right. Tell me more about what being bilingual means. We have the wrong notes, so hold on. All right. Crystal, tell me about what being bilingual means.
It means when you speak 2 languages like Spanish and English.
And how does being bilingual help you?
Bilingual helps you by being smart. It helps your family by speaking the languages and speaking on the phone. It also helps you by multitasking.
Good job, Crystal. Oh, there was one more that we didn't have notes for, actually. What do you want to say about this slide?
These are my statues in my home country, Venezuela.
Good job, Crystal. All right, and Annabelle. All right, what's your name?
Annabelle,
And what grade are you in?
4th,
And what languages do you speak?
Spanish and English.
All right, tell me more about why bilingual is a superpower.
You can help your parents translate. You have to memorize 2 languages and you have to improve multitasking.
And you wanted to share a statue from your country, so do you want to talk more about that? No? Okay, that's fine. Some chose to put their cultures from their countries in, so she wanted to put the statue in. So very nice job, Annabelle. All right. Okay, so I just want to say, again, thank you to the board for having us here. And I want to thank all the parents for coming in and bringing us and participating this. And I just want to thank the parents too for trusting us every day with your kids. And I really, truly do enjoy teaching all of your kids. And I want to thank all the students that came in tonight that were very brave. You came up and you showed your work that you've been working so hard on, and you got up in front of a group of adults to share, and that takes a lot of bravery, okay? And you also kind of did this talking about something, and a lot of you were talking about things personal to you, and that's really special to share. So I really appreciate all of the work that the students did. So thank you.
Thank you all so much. That was phenomenal. Board members, are there any questions for Julie or for our student guests?
I just have one. I know we have the seal of biliteracy.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering if we have been applying that to graduating seniors that may have acquired that, and hopefully the superstars here tonight will also have
Absolutely.
that seal on their diploma when they graduate.
Yeah, so I'll just explain that for the students and the families. So when you graduate high school, and there's something called the seal of biliteracy. So once you are literate in 2 languages, you can take a test to have the seal of biliteracy, and it's just an extra special consideration and a kind of almost award that you can graduate with. And yeah, I do. That's one thing I'm working on is having the high school level students qualify and try to take that seal. So yeah, it's really special to see. Yeah. Thank you for bringing
They
that
are
up.
superstars. They
They-
have superpowers, but they're superstars in my opinion.
They really are. Thank you.
Great question. Any other questions or comments from the board?
This was great. Thank you all for coming out.
I would echo that. Thank you all so much for taking the time to come in tonight and share with us. That was really wonderful. We're gonna, and Julie as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Julie, spectacular. We're gonna, if there aren't any other questions, we're gonna move on with our meeting, and families, you can stay if you like, but it's also okay if you need to get home for bedtime. I understand. But thank you for coming in. We will give them just a minute to settle. So we are gonna move on to our student representative report. And we have Liam with us tonight, which we're thrilled about. Caitlin sends her regrets. She is with the cheerleading team at a basketball game in Thomaston. And so we're sending lots of good luck to the boys basketball team this score.
They lost my six.
Oh, sounds like it was a really close game. But we're happy Liam's with us. So Liam, take it away.
So, as you can imagine, quite a lot happens in a month. So I've got a quick, hopefully, report here for you guys about what's happened over at the high school. To kick things off during Valentine's Week, Student Senate hosted its first Valentine's Week pep rally on Thursday, February 13th. The event celebrated the achievements of our music and athletic students from spring 2024, fall 24, and winter 2025. Foster stronger connections between schools, we invited the entirety of the sixth grade class to join us. And there were about 100 sixth graders were able to participate, and they were split into groups of 25 with different graduating classes. They were given shirts which matched the color of the class because we were doing color wars that day. And lastly, one sixth grader, Jackson Hungerford, sorry if I mispronounced that, was named the Portland Highlander and wore the Highlander kilt with pride. The sixth graders also participated in pep rally events, contributing to the energy and excitement of the day. In other news, 2 weeks ago, students from the National Honor Society participated in their annual Go Baby Go service project. Go Baby Go is a national program that modifies ride-on cars for younger children with disabilities. Our NHS students partnered with CCSU students and teachers to modify these vehicles on Friday. Students took apart Power Wheel vehicles and modified them with hand controls and stable back supports. On Saturday, working alongside licensed professionals, the students added extra support to ensure the vehicles were comfortable and safe for the children. Parents were then able to take the cars home with them that day. We've got a bit more to go.
That's all right. Take your time.
Continuing the momentum of our extracurriculars. Yesterday, 21.
Sorry, Liam, hold on one second. Stacy, do you mind just aiming the microphone at Liam so we can make sure we can hear him? Thank you.
Continuing the momentum of our extracurriculars. Yesterday, 21 Portland High School students participated in the annual DECA State Career Development Conference. More than 1,400 students from across the state competed at this conference for the chance to represent their school in Orlando this coming April. At the International Career Development Conference, senior Evie Graham took home the quote-unquote DECA glass for her efforts in the Sports and Entertainment Marketing Individual Series event. Having won second place at the state conference, Evie is now eligible to represent Portland High School at the International Career Development Conference. This is the fifth time a Portland High School student has been a finalist in the annual conference in the past 7 years participating. This past month also saw some fantastic field trips and outreach programs. Mr. Ott's Black and Latino Studies class visited the Yale University Art Gallery for a custom-designed BLS-themed tour. 2 Yale PhD students, one in art and photography and the other in Black Studies, led the class on an hour-long tour, making connections between various artworks and artifacts. Additionally, the students involved in the musical took their long-awaited trip to New York to go see The Great Gatsby on Broadway. This trip proved to be a great, entertaining experience for all involved, and hopefully give some ideas. Today, seniors in public speaking headed over to Gildersleeve to read books in celebration of Read Across America Day. Speaking of books, this week the NHS is hosting a book fair requesting gently used or newer children's books to support the Read to Grow program. The week will wrap up with a Dress as Your Favorite Book Character Spirit Day. In a few weeks, we will be celebrating artwork from our 8th through 12th grades during our Youth Art Month for PHS in Portland Middle School. There will be an open house on March 20th from 4 to 8. The annual sophomore auction will take place on March 27th. This is the biggest fundraiser for the sophomore graduating class. And the advisors, students, and families have been working very hard to gather some great auction items. It promises to be an exciting event, and we hope you can attend and bid on some items. It's also course selection time at Portland High School for the 25 through 26 school year. The first annual curriculum night was a successful introduction to the course selection process. It offered families, incoming 9th through 12th graders, the opportunity to learn about class offerings, course requirements, and hear from teachers about the skills and content students will gain in various disciplines. In sports, the winter sports season is wrapping up, with teams celebrating senior nights. Our boys basketball team is currently competing in the second round of the state tournament at Thomaston High School after securing a win in the first round at Portland at the high school game against Wheeler Heights. The winter music concert held last Monday was a huge success. Speaking of music, Kayla and I have been discussing the upcoming musical for months. It's finally here. Tickets are now on sale for Anything Goes, which will be performed on the 21st and 22nd of March. It's sure to be an amazing show. Lastly, the SATs are scheduled for March 19th. Junior class will attend the college fair on March 20th. And we made it.
Thank you, Liam. I appreciate how thorough you are. Are there questions for Liam on his report? Anything we covered?
Could you just repeat the part about the book sale of new and used?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The National Honor Society is hosting a book fair requesting gently, I believe it's actually supposed to be a book drive, requesting gently used or new children's books. And it's to help support.
Right. I
Literacy
got
efforts.
that part.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Good.
great.
How do we get tickets to the show?
I believe there's a link online.
Okay.
There is. Is it on the district website?
Yep, I think it's on the
Live?
yeah.
I know it went out by email today. If it's not on the district website yet, I can forward it to you, Angela.
Okay,
It's on the high school website.
high school website.
Awesome. Very excited for that. Thank you, Liam. That was wonderful.
Yep.
Good job. We're gonna move on to communications and updates. I'll turn it over to Britton.
So some pretty important things for you. First, you received a letter of resignation from Brittany Boyd, paraprofessional. Wish her well. All the best of luck in her future endeavors. Second, I just want to point out the enrollment report. If there's any questions there, pretty stable. We're at 1209 compared to 1216 last year, and very stable. So let me stop there and see if there are any questions about Brittany's resignation or the enrollment report.
Just that seems like every month we're losing 2 or 3 since October. I mean, doesn't seem like it's a normal pattern.
116. Well,
We're
we
down 3.
yeah, it looks like we went up
12, 20,
7.
12, 17, 12, 14, 12, 11,
up
12,
4,
9.
and then the, let me look at the right one. That was out, that's it, so. Yeah, I thought it went up 1 month.
It did in October.
In October, right? And- Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge number. Either students move out of district or. No, with them, we moved to the brand. Got them combined.
I mean, I know on the one committee, people keep talking about what if our enrollment goes up, what if our growth goes up? I'm more worried about it keep going down.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty, we know from the projections that our demographer did, Peter Proud, it's pretty stable.
Yeah.
I think that this is tracking pretty closely with what he saw. I don't see any big bumps up or down.
Yes.
you know, I think generally speaking, if we were out in above or below anything about 5% of the population, that would probably be a place for concern.
Can I just get clarification? I was just mentioning to Sarah that I have a friend in town whose kindergartner goes to a magnet school, a multi-language magnet school in Hartford. And is she counted here as part of?
You'll see in Sarah's report, that is accounted for in the census there. I'm pretty sure. Let me double check. I'm 99% sure, Sarah. They don't show up. Yeah, I'm
I
saying
think they've been included on those reports now.
that's a magnet program. It's different, right?
Want to make this like vinyl.
Yeah, do you want to come up, Sarah?
So the students aren't accounted for on my enrollment report either, but if there are students who have IEPs or 504s that are in other districts, we manage the PPT or 504 process. So we are aware of those kids in that if they are placed at magnets, we are billed for services, we manage their IEP, we're part of the IEP team. So there are, students that fall into my category that are enrolled in magnets, if that is helpful.
But students in magnet schools are not reflected in this enrollment because this enrollment really is just bodies in our classrooms.
Correct.
It is.
Yeah.
Right.
That
Like I
was
think the vinyl students and BOAG tech school students, they aren't accounted there. Those are, if you add them up, they line up with the attendance in the classrooms.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, a couple of other things then, let me jump back. So enrollment report, Brittany's resignation. All right, I did include some budget related things here, some relatively important information. First, I did include the updated, it's in the drive there, look at budget percent increases in the area. Right? Just to, I promise you, we get them through CASBO, we get a snapshot of what we're looking at statewide. It's amazing, like everything with Cornwall right in the middle, like dead center of the 100 students who, 100 districts who have reported, literally were 48, right? With our 4.97%, average statewide is 5.18 or 4.97. I mean, this just gives you a sense. It's a good bellwether. Everybody's dealing with the same drivers, health insurance costs, special education outplacement costs, aging facilities in some cases. We're right where we need to be. I don't see us anywhere outside of the normal. So I promise I would keep you updated as more numbers come in. I will continue to share that.
Yeah, thanks for providing that. That is helpful to put that in perspective.
Absolutely. It's really, it is very helpful. Of a more consequential nature, I did include in your report, and I didn't make a copy of it because it's hundreds of pages long, right? The town budget, right? So in the Google Drive is the budget that Mike Pelton brought over to me, dropped it off. This is the one that's going to the Board of Selectmen. It's a look at all of the departments in the town. Of note in here, you'll note that our 4.97 is going through. We haven't made any reductions there. One of the more significant things I'd ask you to take a look at on page 138, we get a look at what is going forward as part of our capital requests. So let me get to it. I'll show you where it is. 138. Mm-hmm. There it is. Cool. You look on 138, you'll see that it is going forward with the 52,000 for purchase of the van. So assuming everything goes well with the Board of Selectmen and it gets out to the voters and everything goes well with the referendum, that is a request that the Capital Committee supported. It makes sense. It's a 1-year payback. It's a good investment. It will require us to make some adjustments to hire the other van driver and support Olivia with some additional clerical. We'll make those adjustments, but this then works within the context of our budget. I mean, we had a long conversation about that as a board. That is going forward. Makes sense. Additionally, we're getting for HVAC improvements here at the high school, 105,000. Now, as we know, that is not anywhere near what we need, like this, to describe that 105,000, not that we're not grateful for it, but it is truly a drop in the bucket of the many, many millions of dollars worth of work that we need secondary school and all of our schools, right? We know the strategic planning committee is working hard on this. At our last meeting last Thursday, we went through the sightlines report. It was about 2.5 hours. We literally went line by line through all of the things in the sightlines report,
Just the high school.
just the high school, not even the middle school, the whole secondary, just the high school side of the secondary complex. And, Bob Shea, who is amazing, and Carl, who is amazing, and Fryer, who has been very helpful in this. We went through it and we got to $8 million just like that, right? So certainly while $100,000 is appreciated, just for the high school side, we need 8 million. Right now, we're going through the process now, looking at the middle school, and we know like there's tens of millions of dollars, not 100,000. Right, so this is a moment, right? Like this is a very consequential thing that we have to talk about. I also want to put that $100,000 in a little bit of context. Our requests went to the Board of Selectmen, understanding that this was the last year of the repayment on the bond at the secondary school, and that in this year's mill rate budget, there's 540,000. Now, 151 is coming back to us. I'm curious where the other 350, this is a conversation I think we need to have with the Board of Selectmen about, did we take that money and put it towards operating? Because if that's the case, it's gone to the extent that any additional capital improvements or debt repayment that we might take on, we'd have to raise through the mill rate. And just to remind everybody, what the facility study committee had envisioned, and I believe what the board had envisioned, was both through the debt retirement at the secondary school and through the savings from a consolidation, that funding could be used as seed money to do the $8 million plus worth of work at the secondary school. Or are we remembering that? So I'm just aware that if we're not lockboxing that 540,000 and using it for the secondary school, that bill's gonna come due either through more bonding that we have to ask for or additional funds that we have to raise through capital, because we're kicking the can. Like that's what we're doing. We're kicking the can. So certainly I appreciate the ban and I appreciate the 100,000, but I'm reminding all of us that we need 8 million, not 100,000.
That 8 million comes from the Gordian Sightlines report.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
total amount of repairs needed at the middle school, high school.
No,
complex.
just at the high
Just at
school,
the high
and
school.
those are 5-year-old numbers,
know
so
they
they're
are.
not the
I know.
escalated
I know.
figures that Fryer.
Yeah.
Fryer took those numbers and escalated them.
So, I would encourage everybody on our board to watch the video, which is up online from last week. We spent 2.5 hours as a committee, literally going line by line through, and Bob was very good. He there was a lot of back and forth, but he's going, that's a maintenance item, that's a maintenance item, that's a capital item. We're talking about roofs and air handler units and the different things that need to work. And by the end of that meeting, we didn't really keep tally. So a nice
Somebody
person
did.
in the audience did,
Yeah.
and she came up and said, I've got you at somewhere between 7 and 11 million. And Bob kind of looked at me and said, I'm at 8. Right. So 8 million just at the high school is what we know we're looking at, because that's what Fryer identified for us 5 years ago. Here we are 5 years later with 100,000. I'm just putting it out there. So, and if you had any questions or be aware of what now we're going forward to the Board of Selectmen hearing on the budget is next Tuesday. And then our workshop is Wednesday. Laurel and I will be there and we'll have this discussion. And my intention is with the Board of Selectmen, answer any questions about the budget that is now the board budget, but also point out the work that's ongoing on the strategic planning committee, that $100,000. It's like one air handling unit, smaller one. We have several big ones. It's a small one. We'll do it. I mean, we appreciate everything we can get, but we're kicking the can.
Well, the other thing that might be worth mentioning is that we're keeping our eye out, hoping that this HVAC grant from the state is that the funds will become available again through that program. And there was some indication that it very possibly would. But if it's set up the same way it was before, we need town matching funds. And $100,000 doesn't get us there.
Yeah.
So it's good to keep that in mind as well, that
Right.
you know, we could not apply in the first two rounds because we did not have the matching funds. It'd be nice if we could line those up so that we can jump on that if it becomes, when and if
Is
it
it
becomes
part of the
available.
8 million?
The HVAC?
Yes, yes,
And
that
what
is to meet
do you
HVAC
know how
needs.
much of it is the part of the 8 million?
About 2.5.
2.5 standalone, so there's a possibility if that does come up, that it could come off of this. And
Yeah.
is it, so you said it's matching, is it 150-50?
That's how it was in the last
Yep.
go around. I don't
So
know
the
if it'll be
2.5 would
identical.
Then we would have to pay for 1.25, and they would come back with 1.25, or is it
Yeah,
2.5, they do 2.5?
I don't want to confuse, I don't want to throw numbers out.
Okay.
Bob's getting
Okay, sorry.
quotes, right? Because, and part of the problem we're running into is that Sightlines gave us numbers 2 years,
Yeah.
5 years ago. Prior gave us numbers 2 years ago. Bob is getting quotes now,
Yeah.
and like I called him back, hearing Bob's voice, like, bro, like I just got the quote. Everything is blowing up expensive around us. It's
Right.
We don't
Numbers
have
from
we
5
don't
years
have
ago
the
are
chain
ridiculous.
of, of even getting the equipment. Tariffs are gonna add to it. And we don't have a really large qualified group of technicians that can do the HVAC work. So you end up waiting to get all of it's a perfect storm. So you're waiting to get the equipment, you're waiting to get the help, and the prices keep going up.
Yeah, 'cause what's happening, even in this committee, Bob is saying numbers like we should put a $25% escalation on this, because even if we got the funding, we're not gonna really be doing the work until a year, after you secure the funding. By the time you bid, do the RFPs, secure the vendors, get the vendors in, it's something.
Mhm.
I'm just putting it out, not to raise alarm, but alarm bells will need to start going off soon, because the farther we get away from these things, the more it costs.
And I haven't heard anything at the state capitol about HVAC funding at all. There's no bills moving that forward. If there's a line item in the budget, I didn't see it. I looked, and that whole,
We should check with Patrice again, because it
We're
was
gonna
Patrice who
ask-
had indicated that she thought that maybe that there was some money coming through the state HVAC program that would become available to districts at
Right.
some point.
but that, I haven't seen anything.
But it's certainly not a sure
I'll
thing.
ask again. We can ask.
My only point in raising that is just that if we're talking about capital requests, and we're talking about our HVAC needs in particular, that we could not be prepared for the last round because we did not have the matching funds available. They will continue to not be available unless we make the case for why it's important.
Yeah, and the other thing I just want to mention, and some of us in the room here are on the committee, and we hear these things. We've been living them every Thursday night, and the conversation. But you should be watching the videos, because the next big discussion I think that's going to come out of this committee is this concept of breaking the cycle, right? Like that we shouldn't bond, we should fund capital, right? And okay, but I sort of look at, well, here was your opportunity to break the cycle with 500,000 coming off of the debt service for the secondary school, and we didn't do it here. So, if we're gonna not borrow money up front, but instead actually fund a capital investment cycle, Bob and I were kicking some numbers around today. You would need about $3 to $5 million a year for the next 7 to 10 years to get caught up on all of these deferred capital projects. I just have to ask, and we need to ask the community, is the community prepared to raise from the mill rate $3 to $5 million a year and lockbox it to work on the many projects we need to know? That's how only way you're gonna break the cycle, unless you're gonna bond and pay off the bond over a 20 or 30-year note, right? So that's the next round of conversation that's, I think, may start as early as this Thursday, but certainly there are several voices on the committee that are adamant that we should break the cycle, not bond more, and fund a capital cycle. But I think when we hear that, a lot of us get worried that requires discipline. Even now, the $100,000, when 540 was on the table, don't see the discipline.
The other thing I'll add to that is that a town does need to have some bonding for credit. I mean, otherwise you are not in a good credit situation if you're paying cash for everything. Even on a personal individual basis, if you don't have credit, you're not gonna get credit. You're not gonna be able to buy a car or house or whatever. So we're in the same boat. So it really behooves us to look at the larger picture here. And I will just say this, that at the end of the day, it looks like the cost of all of the repairs that need to be done, that the committee has looked at, is more expensive than a one school solution and building a new school that would be a 21st century school. And I'm dumbfounded by the whole process, quite frankly.
And again, the committee may come to that conclusion too. I'm not sure where it's going. It's just, I want to keep you updated on it. So let me kind of reframe this a little bit. I'm going to start with the glass is half full. 4.97% operating budget is going forward. There are no cuts there. Thank you. And I look forward to articulating the needs in that next Wednesday. 52,000 is there for a van, which is great. I think that this is a good move. It will save us money over time. And 100,000 is there for capital. I'll start working with Bob and the Buildings and Grounds Committee and reporting to you on what we should spend that on. You know, we had 400,000 worth of requests. 480 worth of requests. Most of those were related to air handling units. But you know, now that we know it's 100, Bob and I have some work to do along with recommendations. Also, in the context of some challenges with boilers and heating at Brownstone that just started happening this past week, which is another big stressor, right? So more to come on that. I'll just keep you posted. And all of this, of course, assumes that the Board of Selectmen are comfortable with our budget, send it to the voters, and the good voters of town come out and support that budget. Otherwise, you know, there's still places where things might be cut going forward.
Can I ask a quick question? What was the total capital? I didn't look at that section.
The total.
I heard somebody mention that we're putting like $1 million towards capital.
Yeah, the
Total.
The total capital is 1.7. It's about 1.7 million.
So how are we getting such a small percentage when we're 3/4 of the town budget? And we're the ones with the most needs, quite frankly.
You know, it looks like there's significant needs in sewer. It looks like there's significant needs in water. I imagine, you know, public works, like they're spreading it across all the departments, and I guarantee you that need exists in all of those places. But you're right. Your point is well made, that when you look across long-term at the plan that they put out at total need over the next, you know, 5 years that they have represented in this table, and you're looking at $25 million worth of need that they've allocated to the Board of Education, and down from there for a total of 72 million in need, identified needs within the community. So it's.
I mean, are they assuming that
not.
we're going forward with a referendum and our budget and that we
Maybe
don't
so.
need the money? And then, so we don't get it now because they've made that assumption.
I mean, I thought that the letter that Charles drafted, that the board sent with our budget documents, made a really strong case for preserving that $480,000. It's possible that money is preserved just across the
Could
capital needs,
right?
as opposed to specifically allocated to high school capital improvements. We'd have to compare this to capital that was allocated
Yeah,
last
I
year.
think in fairness, that's part of the discussion that we're gonna have next week when we go for our workshop. I think that well, we may ask that question, you know, that we're seeing we have the van, appreciate that, and 100,000. Was the decision not to give us more because there's an assumption that the strategic planning committee is gonna come forward with a request for bonding and that will be included? I don't know if that's a great assumption now, because at least there are some on the committee that don't feel like we should be bonded, but instead should be funding robust capital. I don't know how that's possible, but this is what the work the committee has to do, right? I mean, maybe there are good ways to raise $5 million, $35 million a year for the next 10 years through a capital.
Charles, can you speak to the following fiscal years, like 26, 27? It does show 13 million for the Board of Ed that next year. Like, what is the proposed thinking with
So,
those numbers?
I mean, Kim, what I can say is that I'm pretty sure every year that I look at the budget, this is what the capital plan looks like. They've identified that the town needs 60 to 70 million in capital. And we're putting $1 million or $1.5 million out of this year, and then we just put everything out over the next 4 years. And then every year it just gets shifted. I don't know that that's out of order with what we have seen in previous years.
Thank you.
So the workshop you talk about, who attends that?
So the budget hearing is next Tuesday, and then all of the departments have a workshop. And it's in the Buck Foreman room. Ours is scheduled for Wednesday. Laurel will be there and I'll be there, and I'll provide some information to the Board of Selectmen about what was in board's budget and answer questions. And then, it's a discussion. It's an opportunity for the board to hear from.
Is all of the Board of Selectmen there?
Yep,
Yeah.
and
It's
all
a
the
public
departments,
meeting.
Yeah.
Police, fire, library, public works, everybody presents their budgets, and
Okay.
the Board of Selectmen deliberate on that, ask questions, and certainly they're part of their prerogative if they make cuts or adjustments in some way, or ultimately the Board of Selectmen will vote to send the budget to the town meeting, and then to a referendum, where the town meeting is then adjourned to a referendum. And that all happens later in the spring.
Yeah, are there any other questions for Charles about the budget document from the first selectman's office?
I was just curious, I think you might have been looking at a different version. You said page 138. We have 90 pages here.
Sarah, the page number is like on the actual document versus the page number in the file. They don't match.
Yeah, we could-
So page 137 is actually page 86 in the document.
How does that happen?
Front to back.
but yeah, good
Oh,
call
It's
side.
scanned in.
So are we not getting the back? Or is
No.
the back?
No, you have all the pages. It's just,
That's why, if you look down here.
if you actually look at the PDF.
Right.
Yeah.
It was in town, maybe look at their budget.
Don't question.
All right.
Right, and I have one more thing.
Mhm.
So I did include a letter from Michael McKeon. He's the attorney for the Connecticut State Department of Education. And in this letter, he has the interpretation, the State Department of Education's interpretation of a letter that we received on February 14th, saying that you have 14 days to stop all of your DEI initiatives. Okay. Essentially, as I read this, there is an interpretation of that letter that says that maybe we should not do that, right? I'll just say, at this point, we're just gonna do what we've been doing, right? I mean, we don't provide, we don't have quotas. We don't do any of the things I think that would raise alarm or raise concern. We do, though, have a equity and inclusion committee. We do have equity and inclusion co-chairs. I support their work 100%. They've been doing great work. We do have a board approved equity statement. We do have an board approved educator diversity plan. We do have those things. I don't know what it would mean to throw them out. I don't know. And so a lot of us were like, when we got this February 14th letter saying you have 14 days to stop doing these things, it seemed a little weird. Like, what does it mean to stop doing those things? So we did it, and then of course we got this saying you don't have to, based on this interpretation of what that letter said. I'm going to be completely honest with you and transparent. It's confusing. Like, I don't know what to do, but we're a small town. We take care of each other. We have a great place, and we're surrounded by everybody who's also equally confused. So I am definitely not prepared to make any recommendations about disbanding or changing or getting rid of or repealing anything. I think we just do what we've been doing until some attorney comes along and tells us you can no longer do that thing. With the one exception being that we do have to adjust our Title IX policy. That is a recommendation that is going to be coming forward to tonight.
But that's based on a lawsuit that came out of a court, and so that is why we're doing it. An executive order is not legal, and according to this letter, we should continue to do what we're doing until there's a court case that says we can't do it anymore. And I know bodies of other boards are supporting whatever their DEI initiatives are, and they're not removing any language other than just the Title IX policy, which I think is appropriate. I mean, that kind of ends the confusion until we find out that a court of law states that we have to, we're being threatened by removal of grants and other things that the federal that a court has not mandated, and according to this letter, because of it, and we can consult with the attorney, but I think we're still, I would not support taking any language away right now. We're gonna just follow the letter of the law as we know it with the change to Title IX. And I'm not an attorney, but that's my take on it from listening to all the things that I've listened to in the last 2 weeks.
I think that sums it up well. I think we stay the course. We don't need to make any changes. If it comes about that we have to disband equity and inclusion committees or repeal equity statements or, repeal our educator diversity plan, I'll let you know. But right now,
And I may add one note as the member of the board representative to the Equity and Inclusion Coalition. As I read that they warn against DEI programs to give preference to certain racial groups and teach students that certain racial groups bear unique moral burdens that others do not. I would say our Equity and Inclusion Coalition does not do that.
no, not at all.
No.
No,
So-
definitely not.
I think we're in the clear there.
We were very clearly not in violation of Title VI,
We're
which is
not.
what this letter was about.
I think there's the takeaway. I don't
And
think
that
we're
is
in
the
violation of
takeaway.
any
We're not.
big thing. I think we're good. So, onward we go.
Yeah. Are there any questions for Charles about that? Okay, thank you, Charles. We will move on to Stephanie's report, our Assistant Superintendent for Business and Financial Affairs.
So we are 8 months in. Almost there, I'm stretched. No news is good news. Right now I'm projecting a little over $100,000 surplus. Again, the situation, I don't know, I mean, I still have some money in there for Bob, but as of right now, we are in the clear, we're doing okay. That's still with the 390 excess cost. I know that bill's out there right now, the governor probably may veto it, and
Yeah.
then how that goes.
We vetoed it, but it'll be
Um,
back in the legislature
Right,
tomorrow. I think as soon as tomorrow.
so.
Everybody
depending
was
on how
urged to
that goes,
call.
even with just the original amount we were gonna get, we're still a little around over 100,000.
Okay.
Um,
What shifted since last month, just out of curiosity?
people don't buy things, and
Okay.
stuff not being bought, with outplacement situations coming back, other situations happening. The Hartford billing, we got final numbers,
Okay.
going through all of the IEPs of every student that we have. Olivia and Sarah have been great with that. We've got a good system down with how we're billing. Still waiting for the purchase order though, so. Right. Once I get that, I'll feel a little better. But that piece of it was a huge, because it went up a little bit more. That number, going through all IEPs.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. Were there questions for Stephanie about the report, about any specific numbers?
And the van number's still there. I
Mhm.
can't make any changes until the budget is posted in enterprise, so we'll do any transfers right now yet, so that the negative in the equipment line is still the van.
A little bit of a relief that things have stabilized, maybe just a little bit.
Better than 12 months ago.
Better than 12 months ago, better than 1 month ago.
Yeah.
I'm super worried.
But we were, but as of a month ago or 6 weeks ago, we were talking about trying to work back from a very slight deficit. So it's, I think we can breathe a little bit easier.
Good.
Questions? No? All right, thank you, Stephanie. We have Sarah here, our Director of Student Services, for an update as well.
Hi, everyone. So
Member report?
it was in the,
But it's definitely online.
Hmm,
Yeah, I thought I saw it.
Yeah, it may not have been
It's
printed
not-
for the packet, but it's in the
Oh.
folder.
Thank you.
Sorry, go ahead.
sorry, never got it. So really no big news for me. I'll just again pause after each section. As far as our enrollment numbers, we're really typical for this time of year. As you can see, that column that says pending identification, that is students that are in the referral process to determine eligibility for special education. That typically is up around this time of year. Kids have had time to settle in. They've gone through some intervention processes, and if those are not being effective, we're kind of moving towards the identification process. So that's normally high this time of year. Our IEP numbers are slightly down. Our 504s are slightly up. That's because typically when students are found ineligible for special education services, often they are transitioning to a 504 plan because they still have a documented disability and there may be accommodations that are necessary. So that's why that number kind of looks how it does. No additional outplacements at this time. I know that's always the big one. Steph did reference, we're in a bit of a surplus. We have some students that, are requiring medical hospitalizations. And at that time, bills are kind of ceasing as far as transportation and their tuition. So no changes as in students are no longer outplaced. I just have a couple students who unfortunately need some medical treatment and they're going to be away for some time receiving that. So that's why that number is a bit down. Any questions on outplacement or any of the IEP 504, all the data right there? Nope. Yeah, nothing big to report. As far as open positions, we are always, again, I will stump for backup van drivers. If you know anybody who would like to do that, we're always looking for them, but there's no difficulty as far as van service or that folks aren't covering. We just always like to have, some backup should anyone really fall ill or not be able to drive, but no open positions right now. On the school security side, I did share, I believe last meeting that we were looking into the comprehensive school threat assessment guidelines training. So that was that training that's really kind of the gold standard in the state. It's through the Center for School Safety. It is free and it is in regards to students making threats towards others or towards the school building. And it's kind of a systematic way to assess those and assess the need for police involvement, the need to, evaluate further student safety, all of those good things. So we are going to hold that on March 14th. We're going to have all administrators there and then also some identified mental health staff. Because it is, using the methodology, it's a team approach. So when a student does make a threat, it's not just one person making that determination. It's a team that goes through kind of a set framework of assessing the risk based on, the content of it, the context of it, things like that. So that is an all-day training on March 14th. So thank you so much to, the PDEC committee, everything for making that time available to us. The morning is typically training around this is the tool and this is how it works. And the afternoon is all scenario based. So they'll give you an actual scenario, you sit as a team and you evaluate what would we do if this threat was made in our school. So everyone who's done the training that I know in Connecticut absolutely loved it. So we're excited to do that. So that's kind of a school security update.
And are the actions after these assessment tools pertinent to the child or pertinent to the
Both.
school and?
Yep, both. Yeah. So when you use it, it might have, if a student is making a threat, there might need to be some mental health supports for them after. Or there may be students who maybe witnessed the threat or were affected by it that you need to follow up with. So it goes through kind of, there's like leveling of the threat based on the specificity of it, the context. It's a very cool tool. But yeah, there's follow-up actions for people who witnessed it, other folks that were affected, and the student who made the threat. And that could go all the way up from like, this is a 911 kind of call to this is a student who needs mental health support. And this is not a valid threat, but it's something that needs to be followed up on.
And even discipline in certain cases.
It wouldn't like prescribe that, but I could see a realm in which that could lead to disciplinary action, but that's not the focus of the tool. The tool is just how do we know basically when this is a threat we really need to take seriously and get others involved. It helps make that call a little more clear to staff. So
Are
we're
there time constraints around it? Like are you supposed to handle things within an hour within?
yeah, so there's certainly no guidelines as far as reporting. Generally, when threats are made, we need to intervene immediately and kind of assess the seriousness of the threat, the context, the content. We do that right now, kind of what we have in place when I talked about youth suicide is when someone makes a statement around threatening to hurt themselves, there's an immediate action of a risk assessment with a clinician. This is similar, you know, immediate action is important, but there's no timeline of like, you have to get this done by X time. But our teams are great. You know, if someone's saying something's concerning, we're jumping in immediately and addressing it.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions about that training? Nope. Just a little professional development update. On the 14th of February, we had just some training that folks completed, you know, our annual Connecticut Alternate Assessment training that we do annually. We did some curriculum development time for some of the classes that are newer this year at Portland High School, our life skills math, life skills reading. We had a PMT refresher with our BCBA, and we did some curriculum development. So nothing big there. As far as what else we're going to make available on the 14th, I've shared a little bit about wanting to kind of leverage the folks we have in district. Our T. Alyssa Law is offering a PD for all staff about the use of assistive technology. So that's like, you know, text to speech, speech to text. So talking into your computer and having it type for you, having it read aloud to you, some other tools. And she's offering that to all staff. We're also going to have a school psychology department meeting about some of our, you know, protocols around sharing cognitive assessment results. So things like IQ tests, if you will, it's kind of layman term. We'll have PMT, and then we have some other folks doing alternate assessment training. So nothing massive in the PD department other than that CSTAG training, which we're quite excited about. As far as transportation, I haven't changed this probably the entire year. This little section here, service has been good. Families seem to be, from my understanding, you know, happy with the minibus times and the minivan times. So doing well there. Any questions or concerns?
Is Kelsey Lisk an employee here?
Yep.
She's from this area. She's not being
No,
brought
so
in from somewhere else.
I want to say when I started 5 years ago, so PMT is headquartered in Middletown. So that's our like restraint, seclusion, de-escalation, crisis procedure training. So most paraprofessionals get it, mental health staff get it, special education teachers get it, and administrators. So previously we were sending folks to Middletown. So you'd have to take a PD day, you would drive over, you'd do their training, you'd come back, we'd pay for it. Since, 5 years since I've been here, myself, Kelsey Lisk, and now our new BCBA are certified as instructors. So people don't have to go over there. So we can do it in-house. So yes, right now, unless we're in a pinch where someone like really needs to be trained and we just don't have the time or capacity, in-house staff, so Kelsey, Nicole, and myself do the training, depending on who's available.
Good. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Are there any other questions for Sarah? Nope. All right, thank you so much. We're going to move on to new business. The first item of new business is 3 new high school course proposals. I can tell you 3 of these were vetted by the curriculum subcommittee, and all 3 had the recommendation from the committee to come to the full board for consideration. So I think we need to take them one at a time, and maybe I'll ask Charles to introduce each of them if you don't mind.
Sure. So we'll do them one. The first one is, of course, introduction to that side. Very excited about this course. I think the curriculum committee was also wowed by it. This is an elective in the math department, and it is focused on it's like a statistics course. It's part of a training. It's very popular course on the West Coast, and it's making its way to the East Coast. And 2 of our math teachers went and visited Montville High School where they're teaching this course. We're very excited about the program. There's some training that comes through. I think it was University UCLA. That was I think it's UCLA that provide the training. And then there's also a database that comes with it where students are accessing regularly updated real data, like, whether it's yields from crops or real-time temperature data that's updated. The only thing I'll mention about this course that I want you to be aware of, it's an excellent course. This is the only one that's not free. There is an expense associated with this course. Next time we meet, you're going to see a Gildersleeve grant. So as we prioritize the Gildersleeve grants, this course needs that Gildersleeve grant in order to run. That said, I did just talk to Don Brecklin today, and he shared with me that he's been working with the UCLA folks that do this course, and they have access. They are motivated by bringing it to the East Coast and are looking for schools to participate in this. And they have a bunch of Bill and Melinda Gates money. So in Don's conversation with this gentleman is that we might be able to access some of that Bill and Melinda Gates grant money to also offset some of the costs of this course. So I'm very confident either through the Gildersleeve grant or through the relationship that we're forming with UCLA, we'll have the funding in order to run this course.
Are there questions? I'm sure you all had a chance to take a look through the proposal form that gives a lot of detail about it, but if there are specific questions, Charles can try and answer.
This be offered in September of 2025.
Yep, it's going into the program. It's in the program now as pending board approval. All of our courses at the high school, it's subject to enrollment. So if there are enough students interested in it, we'll run it. If there aren't enough students interested in it, it won't.
All I was gonna say is, this is the way the world's going. Everybody I interview for my company, I look for data science, data analytics. How can they manage the numbers? So we need to sell this to the students, get it in here and get them going.
This course and the next year's finance course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Essentials.
Yeah.
Helping kids graduate with data science, data analysis skills and financial literacy. 100%.
Any other questions? No?
Oh.
Yeah, Liam.
Can I make a quick comment?
Of course.
I would be pretty obvious, but I've been talking to a bunch of students about course selection because it's pretty interesting to see what everyone else is thinking. And I've got 3 or 4 friends already interested in taking the course, so I figured you guys would like to hear that there is interest.
Yeah,
That's great to hear.
Do you need a motion?
Prerequisites are? I saw that for the art course and the course program description, and I thought I saw it.
I can't remember if they list the prerequisites here.
And
My
they listed it
memory
for
for talking about this
course.
at the curriculum committee meeting is that it's an upper level math course that like junior year that would exist, that would potentially, I think what you had told us is that it would potentially replace trigonometry as a course and kind of create a secondary pathway
Yeah.
for students who aren't interested in calculus, like the AP calculus pathway.
I was just wondering if that's a requirement for this form, because it showed up in the other 2 proposals.
Oh, good question.
It just says instructional, and it's actually a question that they're asking. What are the instructional minutes or instructional frequency required for this course or program? What, if any, other instructional requirements? What other requirements does this course program carry? That is dual enrollment educator certification.
Where are you reading from?
I'm reading on the back page of page 1, the
Okay, 'cause
last.
for the others, it showed up under the course program description section. So anyway, I do
Yeah.
think that might be helpful to include going forward or to encourage teachers to include just.
I think that
to make it clear.
that would be an interesting box to include on its own.
If there is a
So
prerequisite.
this, Eric had helped develop this form earlier on this year as a way to present to the
Oh,
committee. and to the
it's
board,
really helpful to have
which
this
is-
information. no
It's
doubt.
so helpful and it's new that we've had that in the last few months and I know I'm really appreciating it, but I think that the form can continue to evolve if there are additional pieces of information we'd like and asking for, what the course prereqs are would be informative. As part of our curriculum meeting, I think Kim had raised a question about who's being targeted with this beyond the grade level. Are there particular, kids with particular interests or not that,
And maybe
so I think
that's
that could
why-
kind of fall under.
Yeah.
That could kind of fall under that
Sure.
same question if we word it.
Maybe that's just
Just
showed
right.
up in the PE, the fitness
Yep.
course, because it was like almost that language that was there.
Yeah, so that's a great question.
Should we put that on like an agenda item for our next curriculum meeting to amend this form with?
I think we
some
can
type of
just, we can ask,
prerequisite?
we can just ask to add the box. I think that
Oh, okay.
making that request seems like a good piece of information for us to have.
Who are we asking? You?
Right now,
Oh.
Charles.
Oh, right, 'cause you're.
Yeah,
I'm sure will help me remember.
yeah,
I'll take the form, put that. Yes.
yeah,
Do we
that's
have any
great.
updates on Eric's replacement?
Not yet.
But while we're talking, let's stay focused on the intro to data science. If there's no more questions, then I would be looking for a motion to approve this new course.
The motion to approve the course titled Introduction to Data Science as presented with the update for any course requirements that would follow.
So that's the form. That's not related to the course. So it's keep that separate.
Okay,
We're
keep it-
approving the
okay,
course.
okay,
Yeah,
we're-
thank
we're-
you.
Okay.
Motion was made by Megan. Kim, you're seconding? Thank you. Excellent. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. And that is exciting for our students. All right, so the next course is also a high school course called Advanced Fitness.
Also an elective. We don't currently have, we have, student, the PE requirements. There aren't any opportunities for students to take PE electives, and this is our first look at that. We're able to do this, of course, now that Cindy Laverty is going to be back to full time, which is great. We do have the availability to run this. She brought forward this course. It's been something that she and I know the high school has been thinking about for quite a while now. There would be no costs to this course that we couldn't otherwise aren't currently as part of supplies and equipment in the budget. So we could run this course just with the FTE available and student interest, of course.
Just out of curiosity, do we feel like the PE requirement needs to be a prerequisite? Like, but what was the thinking or the conversation in the curriculum committee about why that was required for students to take before they would take this?
I think the 1.0 PE requirement is a graduation requirement. And so this course, I believe, my interpretation was that this course does not fill a graduation requirement. This is an above and beyond
This is a
elective.
0.5.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's mostly targeted now for juniors and seniors, students who, love PE, and otherwise if they finish their requirements would be done, but this would be an elective that they could take.
Kim had raised a good question about this during our curriculum committee meeting about kind of asking that when the course description is written up, can it, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but my memory of what you'd asked is, could it be worded in a way that made it appealing to kids who maybe aren't already involved in a lot of athletic teams and whatnot, that this could additionally potentially interest kids who don't have already a lot of athletic participation. Did I get that right?
Exactly. Yeah, thank you.
And that was actually what came with the other box, that who are we going to market this course to? What are the companies? So it wouldn't just be, high flying PE students, but all types of students. And I think that was a great point, and certainly something we can make sure that we do as counselors sit down with students and coach them into picking their courses.
Great. Any other questions for Charles about this course proposal?
The, under resources and material, the cost for the yoga mats, I can't remember. Would we be picking that up for the first year, or are we saying that the student needs to pick that up for the first year? How are we, if yoga is included in the course?
I don't know the exact answer to that, but what I've been told is that the PE has a supplies budget, right? That, they used to buy basketballs and equipment for PE.
Okay.
That's where we don't need more in that in order to
Okay.
run the course. It might mean reallocating that.
Okay.
We don't need
You can
more.
make it work within the current budget
Correct,
request.
make it work within the current budget.
Very good.
I think, and to that point, one thing that's pretty cool about this course is that it will make good use of the still relatively brand new weight room at the high school.
Exactly.
So that's nice to think about that being
It's
well
beautiful.
used.
It is beautiful.
It is very beautiful.
Skill to
Did a
see.
nice job with that.
I like the idea that this is goal setting for future health and fitness going forward. That these are not the athletes that play soccer, but these might be, and even the athletes who play soccer or who wrestle or, basketball players, to have lifelong skills going forward out of high school. So I think this is really a good class.
Yeah, it's an alternative lifestyle change. They could be developing habits that follow them through their lives.
It's great.
Right.
Part-time yoga instructor.
There are no other questions. I would look for a motion to approve the advanced fitness course proposal.
So moved.
Thanks, Meg. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Sarah. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. And the third and final course proposal for this evening is, and I'm
Yeah.
also excited
Jazzed.
about all three of
I
these, but I'm pretty
know.
jazzed about this. This is an AP Art and Design course at the high school.
Yes, and again, this is the benefit of increasing our teacher to full-time. We do have the ability to offer this. It's something that when we actually hired Michelle, we were looking for somebody to bring this to us, and she did have experience with this and said it was something she was really excited about. So it's another advanced placement course that students take. If you're not familiar with this course, as opposed to a test at the end of the course, an AP test that kids prep for, the students actually spend this course preparing a portfolio that is scored. And it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for our advanced art students, and couldn't be more excited to bring it to you.
Great. Questions for Charles? Comments?
I think it's great.
Is there an AP test specific to art and design, or is it just a general AP art?
It's not a test. It's not an AP test in the way that it exists for other classes.
I mean,
It's
the
a portfolio. Yeah.
But is it specific to art and design, or is it just for like general AP art? Do you know?
Yeah, it's specific to the curriculum for AP art.
Okay.
It does say it culminates in the submission of a portfolio to the College Board for evaluation.
Yeah, I know, like I participated in APR, so I was curious, is it specific to art and design? Or
Yes,
is
it
it,
is.
does it fit the requirements for like the general course?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. It seems pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
I'm not clear on the
Not
answer.
an answer.
Did you get your answer?
It sounds like this is specific to art.
This is a specific course. Yeah, art and design. Does AP art exist as its own course still? I don't know, or did it evolve
There's
into art and
AP art
design?
history, and then there's
So that's why I'm wondering, is there a specific AP art exam or review, or like whatever those things are, whatever they're called for art? That's art and
It
design.
will.
You know, it really, it doesn't matter. I don't need to be satisfied on that question.
probably
to-
look it up.
To support
It's a
this.
Good question.
It's more maybe
Because it
curiosity.
does say that it will incorporate works of historical and contemporary artists.
Yeah, so there,
influenced by our practice.
I got it right here. It's AP Art and Design, this course. There's the AP 2D art, AP 2D art design.
That's what
Then
this
there's
one is.
AP Art and Design. Then there's AP Drawing, AP 3D art.
And those are all separate, like
Those are all
exams,
separate.
sort of.
Yeah.
So the portfolio aligned to this would be specific to AP 2D art and design.
Got it.
And who knows, maybe someday soon we'll be back with AP Drawing. or-
Right.
This is
You
the
could
one.
get the drawing one. Yeah, that's right.
That's exciting. All right.
One more, I'll move the question.
So Meg's gonna make a motion to approve the AP 2D Art and Design course proposal. Is there a second? Seconded by Kim. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you for taking care of those tonight.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna move on to the next item of new business, Board of Education policy. This is a first reading. It is policy 4000.1, which is our Title IX policy. And just so you are aware, the policy committee is making a request that the board consider this tonight and consider waiving our policy that generally requires us to do a second reading, as this change is motivated by staying in compliance with federal law. So we think it's important to take action quickly. So, Charles and Meg, does one of you want to introduce? Would you like to introduce the changes, Meg?
We go backwards to 2020 and we remove, all we're doing is ripping and replacing. So what we approved in the fall as the new Title IX is now gone. And this reverts us back to a different investigative model, which includes multiple people. And it removes any protected language for protected classes as intent transgender or whatever. It's not significantly changing the purview of the law, but it does put us back. It does, and that's the law of the land right now. So that's what we will follow.
And it's important to note that what we received is identical to what it is our policy from 2020. So we're recommending that we go back to the policy from 2020. I don't think any changes have been made to it. and it stands as it is.
It's a rip and replace, but I will do a question, Sarah, because I know you went through the training for the new policy back in the summertime. Is there training now being offered by, any of the legals, like Shipman and Goodwin, for what it goes back to? Because now this is a whole new protocol for you.
So what Shipman has shared is basically they've said, go back to what you were doing prior, never mind. And what they shared was essentially reach out to Shipman if you have any questions around this, but I think they're not offering any training at this time because it truly is just a return to what the standards were. Yeah, but if there are, I would, love to participate as a refresher. But again, the two big changes that they expressed to us were one, the removal of some classes as protected class, and then the change to the investigative model. So that reverts to that, option for the possible victim and the possible, complainant to, or respondent rather, to meet and things like that were the 2020 regulations.
So, okay, thank you. Yeah, no, I think it's just the way it should be. I would move to waive the second reading and have the full board vote on this new return policy as it's presented to me.
Motion made by Meg. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Stacy. Is there any discussion? Any questions? Oh, okay. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
No, we're in compliance.
Now we're in compliance.
Until the change comes again.
Yeah. All right. Great. We do not have any old business, so we are gonna move on to our committee reports. And we can start with curriculum, although we pretty much covered it.
Everything we talked about tonight.
Great. Policy.
Policy is now going to meet at 5:45 before a board meeting once a month so that we can deal with policy and do it in person and also on Zoom. I think it'll be more effective. And we do have some things in front of us that, the landscape is changing as we speak. And I will just say that the education committee and the children's committee, which does affect some policies, has 44 bills in front of it that they're considering. So I'm sure we have more to come, but we also have some policies that we're still working on. So we will meet on March the 20th at 5:45 to discuss policies. No,
Also,
18, I'm sorry, 18.
I'm also noticing that as a reminder, and Tricia, I appreciate you putting the minutes from the meetings. I noticed those in the board drive here, which is great. So in addition, board members, to the reports you're getting, you can also see the minutes from those meetings.
Right.
I thought that was a nice touch, and Tricia, thank you.
Right, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was good. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought we had that issue a couple of months ago where folks were having a hard time finding minutes. This seemed like an easy solution to make sure everyone can access
Right.
them quickly with their packets.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you have anything else?
No,
I
that's
didn't mean to
it.
cut you
We'll
off.
just, and if anybody wants to come and listen, as long as we're not voting on anything anyway, you can come and listen by 45.
All right, personnel quickly, we did meet this past month, to review. There were a couple of things that were at odds in the secretary's contract, little things that were off between the draft that our board attorney had and the draft that the secretary's attorney had. So we had to kind of work through that a little bit. That is resolved. We anticipate that the secretary's contract will be in front of the board at our next March meeting. We also set dates as of today for negotiations with our nurses bargaining unit. So we're looking forward to taking care of that over the next month or so. And the only other thing I would mention, kind of to your question that you raised about our director of curriculum instruction and technology, we did at the personnel committee start to have a general conversation about how Charles is kind of interested in reimagining that role and what that might look like. So we're kind of at the beginning, I think, of thinking that through, knowing that we wouldn't be looking to hire until next fiscal year.
More to come.
So more to come. Yeah. All right, buildings and grounds.
No meeting right now on schedule. I don't know if we need one at this point. I know that the tennis courts came up and maybe that it's a conversation we need to have, but I think we're just waiting to see what happens with the committee on Thursday night, the Capitol. So no meetings right now.
Okay. Any updates from Crack Meg?
Just that we met last month and we reviewed a program for peer-to-peer restorative discipline program that they do at the magnet schools, and it was very inspiring. But nothing earth-shattering right now. No, not at all.
Thank you.
That's it. And we'll meet again in 2 weeks.
No, nothing huge, just a couple things. The water, they had a minor setback with a cracked pipe, but it was fixed quickly. They feel they're progressing very on track for the piping. They're gonna do the testing and move forward. And then they gave an update on that riverfront boat launch.
Mhm.
They've cleared some hurdles with deep that were originally obstacles, and so that's progressing as well. So there's some optimism there. Those are probably the two big things.
Great, thank you, Dave. Youth Services, any news? Courtney's back.
Yeah, Courtney's back. She was participating in Read Across America yesterday, I believe. Egg hunt with Park and Rec and summer kickoff, which will bring in the governor's summer reading program. And they did that last year, and it had a petting zoo, and there was a lot of kids running around. It's a great event. Just a lot of fun. So those are the two things on the on that. She is looking to do a drop-in program with more preschoolers and utilizing her utilizing the morning when preschool doesn't meet because of the delayed opening. So those kids could come to her drop-in program, and she's looking to create some kind of a mom's group. She's a new mom herself, so it's in her wheelhouse to do that. So it's exciting. And she's also looking to rejuvenate the juvenile review board. That's an important way that students can, rather than be just suspended from school, we use restorative justice and accepting responsibility for what they've done, whether it's at school or it's a parent-child issue or it's a police issue. It's an effective way to kind of rein kids in and have them check their behavior themselves, accept the responsibility, restore whatever they've damaged or whatever, and then be restored to the community. So she's looking to have some new members on that juvenile review board, if anybody is interested in doing it. That's
Thank
it.
you.
Oh, and the next meeting is March 18th.
All right. Sarah, has equity and inclusion met or later this month?
March 27th is our next.
March
meeting.
27th. Sorry, I know I keep asking you and I'm
Oh, that's
not keeping track of what it actually is. Thanks. Strategic Capital Improvements Committee. We've met weekly since our last meeting, and you know, the meetings are interesting. I would encourage you all to tune in if you can. You know, I think main highlight, Charles mentioned that we looked through the capital improvements list at the high school, spent 2.5 hours going through that. And I think the intention is to do that at the middle school as well, and potentially elementary schools. Something to keep in mind that we 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago heard from Michael Serrano and Bryce about updated numbers, costs for any configuration of 2 schools, a consolidation of 2 schools, whether that is a pre-K 2 Valley View and a 3rd through 5th at Gildersleeve, or pre-K 2 Valley View, Gildersleeve and the 3 through 5 Brownstone, any combination of those 3 buildings. They priced them out as renovate to new, and it's, you know, and it was interesting to see that pretty much any configuration the cost to Portland was going to be between $40 and $44 million for a 2-school renovate to new plan. Carl raised the question of whether the committee would consider a renovate to new of 1 school and capital improvement plans at the 2nd school. And so I think that committee members are giving some consideration to that. But truly, as of, you know, our conversation 2 weeks ago, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of consensus on the committee yet around which school committee members would be interested in moving to closed. There are still a lot of pros and cons to each of them and concerns with each of them. So, you know, it feels like there's some baby steps. It's been baby steps. But again, tune in if you can, or if anyone has questions, I'm happy to try and answer them.
One other thing I would just note that if you look at last Friday's River East,
Yep.
it's farther in, it's like page 19. It was closer up to the front. I thought London Brazil did a nice job with laying it out there, and the numbers were what the numbers were. And if you haven't seen that article, take a look at it. I thought she did a pretty good job summarizing what
I
might
thought
bring.
so too. Yeah, I watched the reporting, but it was accurate.
So there'll be more information during next meeting, I'm sure. All right. We're gonna move on to audience of citizens. Don't believe we have any citizens in person, unless you wanted to share anything, John. No, you're good. Is there anyone online who wishes to address the board? Okay, all right. And we'll keep moving. Board of Education member comments. Let's start over here, Dave.
Just a quick comment on the Strategic Capital Committee. I've been basically staying out of it, but I've been listening through the excruciating details of the meeting. I'm hoping some of the naysayers in the past are now seeing that all the different options, there's no easy option. But I also hope the committee's collaborating more rather than kind of going down a path that someone thinks we should go down by trying to say this is the way it should be, when we should explore all options. And one of them may be, and people are not going to hear this, one may be revisiting the referendum again, now that people have an understanding of what things cost and what we're going to get and what we're not going to get. And I'm not quite sure the answer is that we go through capital improvements and we fix this, or we don't fix this outlet, we don't fix this, we fix this. And then, is there going to be somebody around that's going to do that work for years of trying to figure out what we didn't fix, now we need to fix? So it's sad to say, sometimes you've got to bite the bullet and do something that you may be a little bit painful, but it solves a lot of headaches. So just my 2 cents.
Dave.
Yeah, just a thank you to Julie and the ML students. It was great to see a bunch of them that I recognized from school and activities in town. And I really enjoyed hearing the students' voices in that presentation. And also got to do Read Across America yesterday at Valley View. And that's always such a fun event. I mean, the kids are so excited to have visitors come into their classroom. And then next week is Cave's Day on the Hill. So I know a few of us are gonna go over there, and I'm looking forward to that. And we also did get an email today about the governor vetoing the excess cost. But there is a call to action there. So tomorrow I'll be picking up the phone and calling folks to, at the very least, let them know that I want them to support the bill that has that funding included.
Thanks for that, Sarah.
So I echo both of them just said. Liam, thank you for that extensive update. It was very informative, and I'm hoping to see the play this month. I'm looking forward to attending that.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Liam.
I would like to echo all the remarks made. It's truly incredible what we're doing with our multilingual learning program. And it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
I echo as well, and just very excited about the new course offerings, so.
Yeah, it's great.
Definitely, it was great to see the students and hear their voices and being so brave coming out here, so that was great. And all the hard work Julie's doing for sure. I'm really disappointed I didn't get to do Read Across America this year. I had meetings yesterday I couldn't miss, so I definitely missed it yesterday. Yeah, and looking forward to all the upcoming events to play. Lots of great stuff happening in Portland.
That's for sure.
Well, I've been busy. I was testifying yesterday, so I did not go to Read Across America. there's a lot of bills and I was inaccurate. There are 72 bills between the Children's Committee and the Education Committee. And they may not all live, but some of them are significant. They involve lockdowns, they involve teacher evaluations and that continued conversation. And then there are some that, bill is adding 15% to construction costs for special ed spaces, which is great. There's a bill about hosting our curriculum online. That these are all, if they pass, would be mandates that we would have to enact. And so those are all questions. I'm happy to share any of the bills with anybody there. I'll share the link and you can go and look online yourself. You're able to testify as an individual. You may agree or not agree with the bills. We may agree as a board that, you know, we do agree in lockdowns. We do agree in educating students and the community because we know what happens when parents are out of the loop and want to show up during a lockdown and take their kids out of school, which is not a good idea. And so, you know, but we don't want to sacrifice the confidentiality of what we do to secure the buildings either. So that's always the challenge. But we can vote, we can go and speak as a board with a letter to the Education Committee or any legislator. And then again, you can do it individually. So our voices are important and we're going to find out how important they are as we listen to some of the stuff that's happening at the federal level. I did mention to Jacob, there is a not a new group, but it's a group called the National Student School Board Member Associations. And I told Charles I would, Liam. I'm sorry, Liam. I called you Jacob too. Sorry about that, Liam. But I mentioned it to Charles too. For $350, this association is doing a conference this summer for three days. I believe it's 3 days, and it's training on how to use your voice to the school board to be able to be more proactive about what happens in your school. And we know
That's so
that
cool.
some states have allowed school board student reps on school boards to be able to be voting members of the school board. So when we approve a policy or we make a change or we approve a new class, they would actually be able to give some input. And I'm choking on I don't know what I'm choking on right now. I feel like I need water. The students that I have encountered and that we've encountered at panel discussions, different venues, conferences and things that I've seen are incredibly smart and incredibly just thoughtful about what they need to go into the future. And so I think it's a good thing to have that training, and I would hope that we can find the $350 to let Liam do that training this summer
What a
for
great
sure.
idea.
So yeah, so I'll pass that along to you and you can pass it along to the people that need to find the money.
Yeah, thanks for sharing them.
And that's it. I mean, I'm just all over the place right now, so I'm gonna stop talking.
I've got just a couple things. I also wanted to thank Melissa Thorpe for inviting board members to come participate in the Read Across America event at Valley View. It's such a special thing. And it's great hanging out with the kiddos. I wanted to mention that not this past weekend, 2 weekends ago, I was able to attend the Voices of Portland panel conversation here at the middle school in the auditorium, which was just an excellent event. And that's co-sponsored by the Solidarity Committee and the Portland Library and the Portland Historical Society. And it was a wonderful conversation. And I was speaking with one of the coordinators afterwards who was really fired up and excited about creating opportunities for Portland high school students, Portland students to be able to benefit from hearing some of these stories about Portland's history. So I know that there was an intention to connect more with Kate Lawson and Chuck Hershon here at the high school and middle school about what opportunities might exist in the future. It was making me think of the wonderful Veterans Day event that we host, that panel conversation in November that's so impactful. And that maybe I'm excited about the opportunities for our students to be able to experience some of that, because it was pretty cool to sit in a room full of folks from Portland hearing about what Portland was like from some of our elder community members who remember, back in the day.
Have any of the students, I hate to interrupt, but have any of the board members, sorry, been Portland High School or Portland Middle School or Valley View students? I'm the only one.
You're the one.
I'm the only one. I'm the only
And
Tony.
John Dillon's waving his arms from the audience.
I was curious.
Yeah, that was special. It would be very cool to create opportunities for our students to experience that. So I'm excited for future collaboration there. I also wanted to just mention finally that I had an email from Lisa Hammersley from the School and State Finance Project, and I was able to meet with her last week briefly. She's been really instrumental in working with the state around reconfiguring the education cost sharing formula. But right now she's working with the General Assembly's Finance, Revenue, and Bonding Committee to get a bill passed. And they're working like quickly because they're hoping to get it passed this session. That's calling for the creation of, they're calling it District Repair and Improvement Program, DRIP. And it would the proposal is to create I think it's a $40 million fund that would exist annually from the state as a distribution to school districts for capital improvements. And it's modeled pretty much identically after the LoCIP program that you all might be familiar with through the town's budget. So the town annually receives a certain amount of money, I don't know the number off the top of my head, from the state to put towards capital improvement projects around town. And this would be a fund similarly established, similar guidelines and parameters about how the funds are distributed. And I think when I looked at her chart, Portland would be, the Portland schools would be set to receive about $85,000 annually to use towards capital improvements. And you could use them in that current year, or you could let them sit and accumulate over a couple of years to tackle a larger capital improvement project. But I think there's an understanding and acknowledgement that, you know, Portland's not alone in our capital improvement struggles, that, you know, towns and cities across the state are also dealing with aging facilities and oftentimes a shortage of funding to address them. So, you know, certainly it's not a quick fix to our problems, but it's a start. And the idea of there being a commitment from the state to supporting those improvements is encouraging. So, you know, Lisa wanted to meet and get feedback, you know, how would that impact Portland? Would there be a need for that in the Portland schools? And I told her all about our woes with our facility woes. And she said that, you know, assuming this moves forward, that there will be a need for advocacy from boards of education. So I guess I wanted to consult you all. Is there interest if Charles and I worked together to put together another letter in support of this, if it moves forward, would the board be interested in signing on?
Free money?
Yeah, it sounds like that's a yes. Perfect. I'm relieved to hear that. This was like a little bit of a.
Other states have funding for capital improvements because they build the buildings with us and then they leave the towns alone to fix them as they age. And so I think Washington State has a similar fund that goes to districts and to schools.
It just makes so much sense.
Makes sense.
And I think the LoCIP version of this kind of fund shows how much sense it makes. I think that really benefits communities in tremendous ways. And it was having something that exists for schools makes so much sense.
Do you know if this could be put into that 1 or 2% that we would be able to save every year to hold over? Or is this going to be
separate from that 2%? And Lisa kind of acknowledged that, you know, we acknowledge that this new 2% rule is in existence. And my response was, that's great if you can end the school year with 2% left over. But if you're coming in on fumes the way we have the last couple of years, that, you know, that doesn't get you very far. So having something separate from that 2% that exists as something you can rely on every year to put towards a new boiler or, you know, whatever it is that we know we need.
Well, and I think it also, a lot of districts don't end up, you know, end of the year is like, hurry up and spend the money to make sure that we do. And if there is extra, we do have those 2 commitments to the Fund 11 and Sodexo to the food service. But if we can put that money aside and not go crazy and say, oh, you've got $500, hurry up and go buy books, which happens sometimes. I think that means a lot because that money can be put into a savings account and it's the rainy day fund for Board of Eds. And some people are doing it and they're investing it and they're realizing a good source for capital funds and other things. Yeah.
So I wanted to share that little bit of good
Yeah,
news
that
and
is good
I'm
news.
optimistic that it'll move forward. But also I, be happy for us to draft a letter to support that. And there might be opportunities to
Yeah.
hopefully speak in support of it at the committee level.
Yeah.
All right, I think that was everything I wanted to cover. We do not have an executive session tonight, so if there is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Meg. Is there a second?
Need a treacle.
Seconded by Sarah. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We'll adjourn.